Hi, you guys. So, I've had a lot on my mind lately about some places where I've received feedback that people are stuck, or they think they've already done that, or they're going to have to go back and review something again because they aren't quite there yet. A variety of things along those lines. And it came relevant to my professional world this week, and I had to have some conversations to help some other climbers get back in their learning mode and making forward progress. And those conversations became very interesting because they kept saying, I think, I thought, I will think, things like that. At one point, because I was working with a younger person, I said, well, if Yoda would say try not do, then I would say think not no. To which they went, huh? And then it occurred to me that that's actually very significant in what we're trying to do here. And that a lot of what we hold ourselves back with is our own inability to believe or know something is true. Now, knowing is a tricky word. Knowledge, tricky word. It's got a lot of different meanings. In ancient times, knowing wasn't necessarily a knowledge issue. It was more of a physical intimacy issue historically, between humans or beings. It wasn't necessarily a brain function. And I'm not exactly sure when it transitioned into a non-physical thing, but it did become knowing of something. And so I did some research around that to bring some information into my professional world. And I found suddenly that it's incredibly relevant to what we're doing here. And I found this amazing article that could have been written by me myself, I swear. And it was not. It's not my article. It has nothing to do with me, but it's a very beneficial and informative article that I will be using in the future. And I really want to share it with you because it's relevant to me also. And I didn't write it. So it's better that I don't try and reference somebody else's work. So this is from the AkashicReading.com website, from Akashic Records, and the topic is thinking versus knowing, because that's exactly what I was trying to describe, is thinking versus knowing. And the article is a wonderful article, so I'm going to read it, and I apologize, but it's relevant. In introduction, it says, I run up against the disparity between thinking and knowing all the time when working with clients. In my case, that's climbers. I'll be reading along a book explaining in detail what they need to do to accomplish what they are asking to achieve. And they will interrupt with, but I've already done that. I think I've done exactly that when... ... So setting aside that I just read it in their book, that they hadn't done that, and that they need to do it, the fact that it's all irrelevant to me, I don't have a vested interest in this game, and I'm just there to read the Cliff Notes versions of their life to them since they aren't able to. They are still stuck in, I've done that. And the key word they're using is think. Now, let's break this down, shall we? Okay, here we go. Thinking is the left logical brain. Thinking is in the brain, particularly the left logical brain, trying to sort through facts, see patterns, and put things into an order which makes meaning and sense out of things. It doesn't like to repeat a process if it doesn't have to, and it doesn't make judgments on whether something is effective if it appears to meet the criteria on paper. So as I describe something that appears to be like something that they have already done, regardless of the fact that what they did hasn't resolved things and they are still asking the same question and in exactly the same place, they can say with surprise and a bit of indignation that they think they've already done that. Knowing is a whole body, emotional, physical process that is many times disconnected from the mind and its thinking. Let's say that again. Knowing is a whole body, emotional, physical process that is many times disconnected from the mind and its thinking. So if we stop right there, what we've just learned, knowing is in the brain, left side of the brain, logical, linear, completely disconnected from the spirit. We know this. Knowing is a physiological, emotional response within our very being. That's significantly different. The very being functions from right brain. Love, logic, creativity, emotional balance. So knowing is completely the opposite of thinking. And I made a note of that several places, but I couldn't evidence it to myself. I kept being compelled to write it, but I couldn't prove it. And that's part of an additional thing that led me on the journey that we're at right now in this information, is I wanted to prove it. I wanted to know for a fact that thinking is the opposite of knowing, and I wanted to know why, and I wanted to be able to talk about it and describe it to other people. And we pretty much hit the nail on the head right there with just that. Thinking is in the left brain, logical. It's trying to put together linear patterns of things to help information make sense, whether it's part of what you're looking for or not. And knowing is an emotional, physiological response generated from your very spirit. Those are very different. So if thinking is the opposite of knowing, then we are not fully functioning in our healing and recovery until we know that we are, not we think we are. Many times thinking and knowing are disconnected. For example, we struggle with constantly by knowing that something is wrong when all the logical facts point out that it's just fine. Or we know that we should be doing something when all the logical facts point that we should be doing something else. That's where we have a discrepancy between thinking and knowing. Our brain is telling us we must do this, whereas the rest of us is telling us, no, don't do that. Follow your heart. How many times has somebody told you, follow your heart? That's an actual thing, right? Your heart is telling you something that you need to follow because it's having a physiological response that's impacting everything, and it's contradicting the brain, one part of you. So there's some examples of where knowing and thinking come in backwards. Thinking can come into harmony with knowing. That's part of most all spiritual practices. It doesn't go the other way around. So when a client is having difficulty with thinking versus knowing, we can point out that having gone through a therapeutic process of some kind doesn't mean you've gotten the benefit out of it any more than working out with a workout tape set to high speed. And I myself have actually done that. There have been instances earlier in my life when I went through programs such as this in order to accomplish certain changes, and I didn't properly apply myself to the work. And I've admitted to that in previous videos. I went through it on high speed. I skimmed the reading, short-circuited the notes, only dig down halfway through the onion, just to get to the other side and tell myself, good job, you're fixed now. And I wasn't. I hadn't done the work. And that was where I was going through the workout tape on high speed, and I wasn't actually getting from thinking to knowing. So in that situation, I actually thought I had done the work. And I had done work, but I didn't know that I had done the work. And in doing it on high speed, I didn't actually do all of the work. But I didn't want to do it again. That's part of that left brain logic thing. So I told myself I had done it, but didn't get all of the results I could have had I actually dug in and done all of the work instead of at the right pace and with the right effort instead of short-circuiting it to get through it on the other side and pat myself on the back, because actually that back patting, that's ego, not change. So what I've discovered about myself is the best way for me to know that I'm growing and learning and making forward progress on this is to stop every once in a while and interrogate myself. Literally, who am I? What is my purpose? Where did I come from? What am I doing here? What is true? What is not? And click off through my head, boom, boom, boom. What? And because that's how I know I know. The answer's there. Boom, boom, boom. I got this. I know this. When you know that, rest in that. Be like, okay, this is known to me. Keep that. Protect it. Refresh yourself with it. And then change out some more what you think to what you know. And then go back and revisit a whole list, not just the new stuff, and keep reinforcing that. Because as long as we're functioning in our brain of I think, rather than our heart of I know, our healing and recovery is not genuine and authentic, and could be more, and we're only shorting ourselves. So this topic came about as I was doing some more research on the word loneliness and the state of being lonely. The state of being loneliness. We'll be talking about that and exactly what that means. And what is the opposite of that being? Who is the adversary of loneliness? We'll be talking about that too. I have a very interesting list for you. And how we can determine that, and why is it relevant? See, I told you in a previous video that I hadn't wanted to talk about loneliness because I didn't even want to accidentally feel it. We're creator beings. I spoke words. I put them in the universe. I accidentally felt it. I didn't like it. So that kicked up a notch on my research and took it in some really strange places. But I'll try and keep it relevant. And I will bring that to you later. I've got a couple of days of work into this one already. It's pretty big. So whatever delays are being experienced with the task work is what it is. It's really not for any of us to worry about. But we do still have stuff we can be working on, because I'm going to have to talk about emptiness at some point also. It's also got an adversary. We'll talk about who the adversary of emptiness is also. So it's a beautiful day. My sky is fake, and I'm used to it. It's all good. I know the real one. I was born here. I've seen it a lot. But for a fake sky, it's not a bad day. Kids are playing, the dogs are happy, so we can't really complain, right? And I will do some more work, and maybe I'll bring that to you later today. It's going to be a crazy busy work week, so I might not have much for you coming forward. You guys, I wish you amazing insight. We are mysteries. Embrace yours. Crack that code. Figure out the answers. In order to do that, you need keys. Seek the keys. They will come to you if you seek them authentically, genuinely, and in truth. And in order to do all of that, be love. When you are love, you create love. We'll talk more about the adversary. Who is love's adversary?